On over a minute 15 now. Just riding Klusner out. And he's got a cradle locked up here. And now some back points. It looks like Klusner was able to break out of that, but too near fall for Mayer. .20 seconds to go in the second period.
Mayer working very well with that tight waist. Very, very tight waist. Did a kind of that suicide roll as he was going through, but Klusner was able to continue the momentum and not get held up on his back at all. So ending the second period 4-0 in the favor of Mayer, who is going to take neutral to start the third.
This is our second of 14 matches. We started at 126. We're at 132. Jackson Helmkamp for Centennial scoring a pin in the opening match. And now Joey Mayer leading Jackson Klusner 4-0 as we start the third period. And a nice shot there by Klusner, but unable to get points at the edge of the mat, and Mayer comes back with his second takedown of the match.
That whole scramble started with Mayer working on that outside single. He wasn't able to get it. And as he came back up to his feet, Klusner was right there for the double leg, and Mayer just showed some very good athleticism to get into that sprawl position and make his way out of bounds. Then, off the whistle, again, was able to get that outside single and make it work. But a nice reversal there by Klusner with 1:10 to go.
Yeah, great switch by Klusner. Now he kind of lets Mayer go and see how he can do on his feet. But Mayer, good sprawl there by Klusner, now trailing 7-2 with just under a minute to go in the match.
Mayer still was working to try and get that outside single. Came up from it and then was able to kind of work a Kelly action and bring Klusner down. Kept that far arm and kind of clawed it through, but no back points. Great job by Klusner fighting his way to just stay in that referee's position.
Now Mayer has to be thinking about a major decision, leading by 7 here with 20 seconds to go. And Coach Groth is telling his wrestler to let the Urbandale wrestler up. And so if he can get a takedown here in the final 17 seconds, he'll get that major.
A decent shot, but he kind of took off a little bit from the far side of the mat. He's doing a nice job working that outside single. He got it. Great job continuing to hang on to the arm as he was dropping down to get that single. And he comes away with the major decision.
So a 14-3 major decision for Joey Mayer at 132 pounds. That gives Centennial a 9-0 lead in the duel as we move to 138 and a battle of sophomores coming up here.
On the mat for Urbandale, Casey Ross. For Centennial, Carter Bennett.
As you may have heard, Casey Ross for the Jayhawks, Carter Bennett for the Jaguars.
And as the coaches were looking ahead, we were talking to them, they thought this kind of could be one of those toss-up matches. Should be a very interesting and entertaining match as we go through.
Again, Centennial in the all black singlets with kind of silver trim. Urbandale in their red, white, and blue uniforms, that blue and white stripe down the back.
Casey Ross being very aggressive in there as he was trying to duck down for a single, and then came up strong, almost looking for a cow catcher. But these two guys showing some very good balance, and Ross kind of fell into that takedown as Carter Bennett's going to score 2 for the takedown at the edge of the match. Ross did a nice job clearing that near arm, but brought it right back down because nothing came with it. If you're going to clear that arm, you got to get your feet up too, and make sure that you're not just hanging out there. You don't want to give up that inside position, but Ross was able to get to his feet, get the escape at the edge of the mat.
We saw Ankeny Centennial earlier this season face Ankeny in a crosstown duel, and Carter Bennett had to face Caleb Rachi at 138. Of course, Rachi, the #1 ranked wrestler in the state at 138 pounds, who's going to wrestle at Iowa, but Rachi only a junior. Rachi scoring a technical fall against Carter Bennett. So 2-1 now with the escape for Ross.
Both wrestlers not wanting to go backward at all here. So the push-pull scenario is going to come into play. Bennett trying to work down there at, it was more of a fake than a shot, and because he didn't follow through with anything, we now have Casey Ross in there with that front headlock. Did a great job with the pass by, just not enough on that shuck effort. And both wrestlers still on their feet. 5 seconds to go in the first.
So at the end of one period, Carter Bennett with a 2-1 lead. Bennett will go down to start the second. The Jaguars with a 9-0 lead after the first 2 matches. This is our third match of the night. We started at 126. This is 138 pounds. Carter Bennett against Casey Ross.
Ross doing a nice job working that forward and downward pressure. Now he's got that chicken wing. He's going to try and pull him back over. But Bennett doing a great job keeping his hips high. And he got that arm free. But Ross dangerously close to pinning himself there.
Yeah.
Great work here. As predicted by the coaches, very entertaining to this point.
10-0 is our team score, by the way. Centennial with a pin and a major decision in the first 2 matches.
Ross again working that chicken wing and trying to work his way to either going to grab a wrist or, if he can, pop sides and get that half Nelson. But he's settled on that wrist if he can work it through. Bennett doing a great job hipping over and getting back to his base a little bit here.
Oh my.
Ross getting
He's
some
got that
valuable
tight
back
now.
points. Coaching staff for Centennial would like to have said, hang in there, there's short time, but there was well over 30 seconds, and that is a long time to fight from your back. Ross had him tied up tight.
Yeah, Ross with the chicken wing and the half Nelson, able to run that and scores a second period pin. Urbandale's first points on the board. It's 10-6, Ankeny Centennial as we head to 145 pounds.
And the coaches talking to them early on said this could be a very interesting matchup as well. These guys have wrestled each other a couple of different times, with Cuppy coming out on top, but they wrestled each other twice in the same day.
And Cuppy winning both those matches by 1 point. So let's see if Daves can see if third time's a charm for the Urbandale senior.
Daves was in on that outside single, and he's kind of switched into a double leg, but his head is getting trapped in the middle. And Cuppy's doing a great job keeping his head pressure, getting that head down on the mat. When somebody shoots in, tries to get that double leg or get into a push-pull situation, underneath, if you can get their head shoved to the mat, it really stops that forward penetration, and then you can get your hip pressure and keep not only his head down, but his shoulders down as well. Possibly work to spin around for 2. So great job there by Cuppy controlling the head. Davies, on the other hand, great job not giving up any takedown there, as he was able to keep into a stalemate position.
This is our lone match of the night where we have 2 seniors going head-to-head.
You know, typically you think when you have 2 varsity teams with the tradition that both teams have, you'd see a lot of senior versus senior, but the only one tonight.
Yeah, again, 10 of the wrestlers in the varsity lineup for Urbandale are either sophomore or freshman. And here's Daves in on a shot, but near the edge of the mat, and good sprawl by Cuppy. Looks like with 10 seconds left, we may enter the second period with no score.
Cuppy working into a crossface, but Daves was able to work his way out of that. Out of bounds with 0.4 seconds left. So he'll get it whistled. Centennial here with the choice, and he is going to defer, so we'll see what Daves does. Most of the time you kind of predict that in these tight matches, if it's going to be a 1 or a 2 point decision, you're going to start in that down position because it's a lot harder to keep somebody down than it is to take somebody down. And so
no change in position here. Cuppy still in the top position as they go off the edge of the mat.
Nice scramble situation there. We'll see what Daves can do here as we're going to start fresh again here with 1:37 to go in the second. Daves has his head down on the mat, which he is going to have to get that up. Good crossface attempt there by Cuppy. He's working that deep waist up top. Now working under to a 2-on-1. Gave that up in order to try and look for a half. Now he's going to be looking toward the a cradle. Cuppy's mistake there was he was trying to bring the leg to the head instead of taking the head to the knee. And so now Dave's able to get the escape and come up. And Cuppy did no stop there, went right back to the single leg, but out of bounds.
So Daves with the 1-0 lead now, our first point on the board at in this 145-pound match. Coming up at 152, we'll see Ben Monroe for Centennial, the number 2 ranked wrestler in the state, who's undefeated on the season. And 3 times now he's been in the state championship match, finished second each time. He's going to wrestle at Iowa State. That's coming up next, but right now we're at 145 pounds, and Spencer Daves of Urbandale leading Jacob Cuppy 1-0.
But Daves was just called or warned for stalling and kind of moving back. You know, it was a lot of fun talking to your brother after last week's match over at Dowling. If you've been following Pat and I this year on CISN, we've talked a lot about stalling and the calls that get made. And just to kind of let everybody know, if you're being dominated in a match, that's not stalling. But if you're evenly matched, like these 2 guys are evenly matched, that's when stalling is a legitimate call. And Daves was kind of working backward, moving away from him, and the official right there on top of it to say, no, you guys are too evenly matched to have this go on. That is a stall.
So 1-0, Daves with the lead, heading to the third and final period. And again, he has that stall warning against him, and he'll start the final period on top. Dave's trying to score his first win over Cuppy this season after losing 2 close matches to him on the same day.
Which, it's tough enough to beat somebody twice in a season, let alone the same day.
And Dave's in danger if he just hangs on that leg, in danger of getting a stall call, but now he's able to work up. And with 1:30 to go in the match, he has a 1-0 lead.
And he has the knee possibly into a Turk position, but he's called again because he didn't do anything with that knee.
Yeah.
So it's one thing, especially when you're riding those legs. If you have the ankle, the foot bent, or the foot up toward the hip, where you have that knee bent and you're ready to try and Turk somebody over, if you don't do anything with it, you're going to get called for stalling there. And so because of that, Cuppy is now going to take a 2-1 lead with the stall call, the penalty, and the escape here with 1 minute to go in the third.
So Cuppy already beating Dave's twice this season by 1 point, has a 1 point lead late in this third meeting between these two wrestlers.
And Cuppy still moving forward, but Daves did a nice job there getting a shot in himself, but he didn't finish it, and he wasn't very aggressive with it. And so advantage is going to be Cuppy here. If he can get that arm out.
If he can step over, he might be able to wrap up a 2 point takedown. But Dave's holding on to that toe of Cuppy, and back to neutral we go with 19 seconds left. A shot by Daves.
A much better shot, but he stalled out there in the middle. He still has his head in between the knees of Cuppy. He's got to choose a side and finish this out. If he can take his right arm and drop that elbow down behind the knee of Cuppy, you'd have a chance to finish it, but it did not happen. So a 2-1 win for Cuppy.
And that makes the dual team score Ankeny Centennial 13, Urbandale 6. At 1:52, again for the home team, Centennial, Ben Monroe, the senior, ranked number 2 in the state. He's 22-0 on the season, facing Turner Swick, a sophomore for Urbandale. Quickly a 2 point takedown for Monroe.
Yes, he wasted no time getting some little head control, head pressure, and then dropping down for the takedown. It's one thing to be a sophomore in the lineup. It's another thing to be a sophomore in the lineup going against the number 2 ranked undefeated wrestler as your opponent.
Monroe already committed to wrestle at Iowa State. And again, he's been in the state championship match each of his first 3 years in high school, finishing second at 106, 120, and 132. And now he's up to 152. And an escape for Swick.
Nice job on that push-pull. He was able to snap Swick down, and now spun around to get another 2 point takedown. 4-1 in favor of Monroe. Great job using his head to push Swick's head down and able to get into that half Nelson situation. But Swick not making it any easier, as Monroe said, well, I want to go ahead and try and get another takedown, which he does, to extend it to a 6-2 lead. Let Swick back up. So we could be in store here for a takedown clinic as Monroe lets him up again.
Five takedowns in the opening period for Ben Monroe.
I was expecting another one, but I took a glance at the clock and saw that there was only 15 seconds left. And one of the things that you do not want to do as a wrestler, and your coach will let you know if you do it, is give up points at the end of the period.
So Monroe taking a 10-4 lead into the second period.
Great attempt there on a switch by Swick, but Monroe kept that arm and brought him back down underneath. He was working into a butcher situation. Now to a cross-face cradle, back to a butcher. Now he's going to be looking at, well, just a lot of things, Pat. Going to work that arm back up onto his back. Not there. For any young wrestlers that are watching tonight, one of the things that you're going to notice about Monroe and what he's been doing so far is it's not one move and done. It is a series of moves to get things continued on. And even with the takedown clinic that he is putting on right now, he is letting him up, taking him down, letting him up, taking him down, and all of this happening in minimal time coming off the clock.
He just never stops wrestling. And he snaps a person down. He does it hard, doesn't he?
Yes, it is, and it's not comfortable. Even when you get into the practice room and wrestle with some of these guys that know how to do a good snap down, two things kind of happen. It kind of feels like he's going to pull the hair right off the back of your head. And when your forehead snaps down onto the mat, you know that he meant it.
Under 30 seconds to go in the second period. Another takedown from Monroe.
Well, what's happening here is Monroe is
not quite letting him up.
Yeah, that's right. So he's not giving the points away in order to get a takedown. And so one of the things for you out there, wrestlers, if you're going to put on a takedown clinic, make sure that you actually give the escape and are awarded, your opponent is awarded that point before you go ahead and try to take him down again.
And the scoreboard operator having a difficult time keeping up with all the takedowns and escapes here.
Yeah, it could be 20-8.
That's right.
But we'll see here. Nice job by Monroe.
And that should be it. A tech fall for Ben Monroe early in the third period.
And
that's 5 more points for Ankeny Centennial.
Well, the official is going to come over and double check to make sure the score, because it might only be 14 points. It might only be 14. So Ankeny Centennial here is looking at it saying, hey, he's had more than enough takedowns, which he has. But Swick was never awarded those escape points, and so it just didn't add up correctly.
And there's the 15-point differential, and it still ends up being a technical fall for Ben Monroe, making our score 18-6. Let's take a quick timeout. This is CISN.TV. We're up to match number 6 of the night, 160 pounds for Urbandale, Alex Elfin, and for Centennial, Carter Cahill.
And now we're getting into kind of what we would call a tough road in Centennial's lineup, as we're getting into the football players, as they not only do a great job on the football field, they do a great job on the wrestling mat. And Cahill able to do a nice job on the front headlock and get a takedown.
Cahill a record of 21-1 And he's just a sophomore, ranked number 9.
Was talking to Ankeny Centennial coaching staff before the meet. They have 33 football players out for wrestling here, which isn't too bad. There are teams that have less than 33 wrestlers out.
Yeah.
They give a lot of credit to their underneath youth program. As Cahill is getting some back points here and a lot of pressure. He had a tilt, was able to elevate those hips and get him over, and now is working up to the half. But Elfin doing a nice job stopping that, but now into another tilt situation. And the points are just going to keep on rolling. And nice job there by Cahill to switch from that tilt situation into a headlock. He's got to keep walking toward the head. Instead of what he ended up doing, instead of continuing to sit through and keep his body long and walk toward the head, he kind of switched over and was going to look to see if he could get up on top. And that is when Elfin was able to create some space and not have the match ended right there.
So Cahill, a couple of near falls and a takedown makes it 8-0 as we head to the second period.
Nice shot and then a reshot by Cahill and then Elfin. And Elfin was able to get his hips back and spin around for the 2-point takedown. Now he's trying to work and try and get that arm pulled up onto his back, but Elfin doing a nice job stopping it. However, he left the half Nelson over as Cahill was able to jump sides and finish it right there.
The second pin of the night for Ankeny Centennial, recorded by Carter Cahill, and that gives the Jags a 24-6 lead as we move to 170 pounds. And for Centennial, this is the number 1 ranked wrestler in the state, Logan Niels. And Mason Sherwood, his opponent for the Jayhawks, a junior.
One of the elders at being in the junior class for Urbandale.
Yeah. Niels in on that single leg. And a takedown.
Nice job on the high-level finish there. And now working right into the cradle. Nice job by Sherwood getting that arm pushed over the top of his head. So it took the cradle out of play, but with Niels having the leg hooked in, there are still options that Niels has up on top.
Yeah, this part of the Centennial lineup is really tough. I mean, 152, Ben Monroe, 160, Cahill, and Niels, and then 182, you're looking at Ethan Frazier, who's ranked in the top 10, a state qualifier last year. Niels planning to wrestle at Mankato State. He finished second last year in state, currently ranked number 1.
Sherwood all kinds of tied up right now as the leg is in, and Niels was able to pull him over. It's going to be kind of we have the leg hooked in, and he was going to elevate the hips as well and get him over on just a tilt. Then he got the arm free, put it around his head for a guillotine. Now he has the leg in with a crossface.
Ugh, that's uncomfortable.
It is.
Yeah, I hurt just watching.
A lot of different positions have happened here in just the past few seconds. And none of them were all that healthy to be in.
Another pin for the Jags. Logan Niels at 170 makes our score Ankeny Centennial 30, Urbandale 6. And we move to 182. Let's listen for the introduction here. L's a sophomore for the Jayhawks, one of those 9 sophomores in the lineup. And Frazier, a senior, he finished 8th at state last year. I should say he was a state qualifier last year. He's ranked number 8 at 195, but here he is down at 182.
Both wrestlers locking up here ear to ear. You get into these upper weights, and a lot of times guys like to go ear to ear. Now they're going forehead to forehead. If you can, it used to be if you could get your guy at 182 pounds and up, if you could get him leaning one direction, they were going to go over. But the type of athlete that is now wrestling at these weights is so different. They're very agile, and they're able to keep their center of gravity lower. Now we have guys that are weighing 285 pounds shooting double legs. Nice job on the double leg there by Frazier. So he was able to get Els down to the mat. Now he's working that Turk. He's going to have to do something with that leg. Oh, he let it go, so he's in good shape there. Els doing a nice job rolling through. Frazier hooking the leg in.
Centennial winning 6 of the first 7 matches, 3 by pin. Now at 182 pounds, Ethan Frazier leading Grayson Els by the score of 2-0.
For those of you wondering why the wrestling meet, the duel tonight, was moved up an hour, it is finals week in several of the high schools in central Iowa, and so they want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to be preparing for those.
(2-0) after the first in favor of Frazier.
It was Frazier's choice there. He deferred. So now Els is going down to the down position. Frazier's going to cover here. Nice job on the spiral as he was able to put that forward pressure. Now he's trying to hook that leg in. Els doing a nice job hanging on to the toe. He doesn't want that leg going in there. Now if he can get him riding high, which he was, he just didn't get his hips elevated enough to try and have Frazier come down over the top.
Stalemate called.
Els doing a great job fighting that leg off again, but Frazier doing a nice job with a kind of a sit roll and get that leg hooked in. But he's going to have to work it somehow, whether he's going to use a crossface here or kind of has a claw on and is getting some back points. Now he hops up on top. Things got a little bit tougher for Els here.
Very close to a 4th pin, but Els able to work out of it. A 4th pin for Centennial.
Frazier still has that leg hooked in and is able to get that back exposed again. He kind of has a crossface into the claw action. And now he's hooked into a chicken wing. $20 seconds to go in the period.
Trying to get more chest to chest here.
Has spun all the way around the body very slow and methodically. And now has Els in a world of hurt.
And he gets the pin with just 6 seconds left in the second period. And Frazier gives Ankeny Centennial a 36-6 lead, heading to 195. We'll be back in 30 seconds on CISN. .195 for Centennial. It's Michael Witt, a senior, against Urbandale's Colton Team. And a headlock for Witt. And Centennial looking for another pin here. They've had 4 pins in the first 8 matches.
Colton Team is doing everything he can to roll through here. But Witt now looking for kind of a reverse half. He does have the arm, or his arm around his neck, but he does not have Team's arm where it needs to be. But now he's into a pullback. He's settled back on it. And now the reverse half is there. And it's getting a little bit dicey.
And Witt with a pin in 103. And that's the third, that's 4 pins in a row for Centennial. And they now take a 42-6 lead, heading to 220.
The points are just running up the scoreboard on Centennial's side. Urbandale certainly running into a buzzsaw tonight.
Yeah, Centennial winning 8 of the first 9 matches. We've watched 5 of them by pin, including 4 in a row here. And Hayden Hearn, the sophomore for Urbandale, will try to slow things down at least a little bit for the Jayhawks.
Hearn in on a single leg attempt there. But Wells able to keep the pressure. He had good hip action. Wasn't really necessarily a sprawl so much as what he was trying to do was just stop that forward movement and work his way into a cow catcher scenario. Hearn was able to fight that off, but was not able to get rid of the takedown, as Wells was able to finish the takedown for 2. Now he's working on a wrist in between the legs and into a potential chicken wing situation. But the official said, nah, you're out of bounds far enough.
Just 5 matches left, including this one. We're at 220. Jackie Wells with a 2-0 lead over his opponent from Urbandale, Hayden Hearn.
Has both wrists. Now he's able to move the arm up onto the back. The official's going to be watching to make sure that the arm is not turned too much. And he says that it is not. He was able to move around, get the kind of an arm lever going.
And another pin for Centennial. The 5th in a row. And prior to that, we had a tech fall for the Jags. And now they lead 48-6 as we head to the heavyweights.
And this is a bout tonight that could go either way. Adnan and Noah wrestling each other tonight. Senior versus junior.
Aiden Icklick, the junior for Urbandale. Noah Parley, the senior for Centennial.
Now, they haven't wrestled head-to-head yet. There was maybe the DCG tournament where Parley finished third and Icklick finished fifth, but they haven't been head-to-head yet. So it'll be interesting to see how things go out tonight here.
Locking up the bear hug is Parley.
And
he's able to roll Aiden through to his back. Looks like Icklick might be able to get out of this, and he does, but 3 near fall for Parley. He has a 5-1 lead.
A fantastic job by Parley, and he's working into a cradle now.
Ooh. He takes that back hard, but Icklick able to break out of it. And we've got a blood timeout. We'll take a timeout. This is CISN. As we return to action here at Ankeny Centennial, a note coming up on Thursday night, we've got more high school wrestling on CISN. We'll be at Southeast Polk as the #1 ranked Rams play host to Waukee. Should be a great duel on Thursday night, Keith.
Should be a fantastic duel. Both teams have looked solid the last several years. Icklick able to get an escape there. And he is certainly looking for the underhook as he has thrown that in a few times. He is over that right arm right now. We'll see which. Oh!
No points, despite the big fall to the mat. And we head to the second period with Parley of Centennial leading 7-1.
Parley working to see if he can get another cradle in. But Icklick doing a nice job keeping that crossface from not happening. Now he has done a great job sitting back, but he went too far. And now Parley finishing off with a nice headlock finish.
285 pounds, Noah Parley sitting there with the following 225 over Ankeny Celtic of Urbandale. On the mat, 106 pounds.
And that is 6 pins in a row for Centennial. And we flipped the lineup to 106.
Boy, those football players did a nice job in the upper weights for Centennial's wrestling team. And they're quite okay with that. Coach Pizzetti and Coach Pizzetti saying, hey, if it looks good for Iowa to do it, we might as well do it over here as well.
Quickly, a 2-point takedown for Cale Wiener, the freshman for Centennial, facing another freshman, the lone freshman in the lineup for Urbandale, Ethan Smith.
A arm bar and wrist. And Blood is going to actually give that a 4-point near fall.
Yeah, they have to. If they have to stop the match when a wrestler's on his back, that's 4 near fall, right?
Yes.
All right. So quickly, 6-0. Cale Wiener takes the lead here, and this. We have 3 matches left, including this one. And Ankeny Centennial has really widened the lead here, 54-6, after scoring 6 consecutive pins in the upper weights.
And I'll be very interested to see what happens at 113 pounds. Kyle Jansen for Centennial and Caden Kahlberg at Urbandale. Kahlberg's kind of been out of the room for a little bit, and we'll see if he's going to actually wrestle tonight or not. Marino is asking a question about, hey, should that have really been a 4-point? Was he over on his back far enough? I mean, you hadn't counted. Where are we at? And the official going to tell him it's probably going to stay.
Fair enough point, though, for Marino. I mean,
right. It didn't look like he was having all that much ease taking Smith over, but Wiener certainly awarded the 4-point near fall. Nice job at the start, getting a breakdown, as Wiener is certainly putting some downward pressure, forward pressure, as he's trying to work toward a wrist and bring it up onto the back, which he does. Now he's going to try and work that far arm. The official right there watching to make sure that the arm brought up on the back does not go further than 90 degrees. Nice job by Smith fighting that off, but Wiener does have a cradle locked up, head in the side, as he is going to try and sit through over the top, post the head, and he's got him in a tough spot for yet another pin.
Wow, 7 pins in a row now for the Jags, and it's now 60-6.
And Coach Marino does, in fact, come to the side to say that Kahlberg will not be wrestling tonight. So, going to be 6 more points for Centennial, which is going to run it up to 66-6.
Well, if anything for Urbandale, that ends a string of pins.
Not on the scoreboard, but on the mat.
Seven pins in a row for Ankeny Centennial. And now we go to our final match of the night at 120 pounds. German for Urbandale, Bresson for Centennial. And Keith, talking to the Centennial coaches before the duel, Jackson Bresson had one heck of a tough tournament at the Clash in Rochester. 21 ranked wrestlers at this weight class, including Bresson, who's ranked number 8, finished 8th at state last year.
Now, when you say 21 ranked wrestlers, that's impressive if you had 100 wrestlers in a bracket, but that was just a 32-man bracket, and 21 of them ranked. That is impressive stuff.
Wow. These two can't decide who's going to put who on their back. But Bresson comes out on top here. Just 40 seconds into the match, we're tied at 2.
Bresson working hard with that crossface. He was also trying to get that leg hooked in, but was not able to do it. German did a nice job pushing back into Bresson to try and work his way up to his base, but had to drop back down again as the leg was coming in. And he does now have the leg hooked in, does Bresson.
You know, we were talking earlier about this team from Hawaii that traveled to Rochester, Minnesota. How do they afford something like that?
I'm
Quite
not
a booster club? I don't know.
Yeah, and sometimes, public versus private is able to take money we don't from the community a little bit easier and get that done. Not 100% sure how, but it would be interesting to find out.
It's our last match of the night between Centennial and Urbandale, and Jackson Bresson for the Jags and Caleb German of the Jayhawks tied here at 2. Bresson trying to ride out here to end the first period.
And for those of you tuning in at home wondering, wow, how do wrestling matches or meets typically go? Well, they usually last longer than an hour. And this one, just over an hour, start to almost finish. The periods going 2-2-2 in high school, 3-2-2 in college. And I tell you what, there is some action going on here as German was able to get the takedown, but Bresson right back into a reversal to be back up in the top position, but the score still tied, but this time 4-4.
One reason this duel is moving so fast, 8 pins for Ankeny Centennial in the first 13 matches, and also accepting a forfeit at 113. This is our final match.
Should be plenty of time for the guys to get home, study for those finals, and do fantastic. As the first semester is starting to certainly wrap up here.
Locked hands, the call on Bresson, so now 5-4. German has the lead.
And Urbandale coaches were a little disappointed that it was stopped. Just because you locked hands doesn't mean that you stop the wrestling right there. German was in a position to possibly continue to work toward a switch, but the official blew the whistle, stopped it, and just awarded the 1 point. Bresson was working very hard to lock his hands again, but that time in a cradle. German doing a fantastic job. Again, pushing the arm over his head and now getting it trapped on his right side of the body on the far side as far as Bresson is concerned.
Under 30 seconds to go in the second period. And although German has spent most of this match underneath, he's leading 5-4.
We're going to find out if the official thinks that German is doing enough work underneath there. Probably nothing can be called here with just a second to go in the second.
All right, so we head to the final period. Bresson will take the down position, trailing 5-4.
You have to be pretty impressed with Caleb German here. He's putting up quite the battle.
Against a wrestler who finished 8th at state last year. And German close to getting some back points here. He does get a 2 count, but can he hang on to that?
He's losing some control. So he got 2, gave up 2, still has the 1 point lead with 1:30 to go in the third.
That's a third reversal for Bresson in this match. Unusual scoring, but 7-6. Caleb German of Urbandale, the wrestler on the bottom, he leads by 1 with 1:15 to go. And he spent most of this match in that bottom position, just getting pounded on, but still leading. And Coach Groth telling Bresson to let German up, cut him loose, and try and take him down.
And Bresson not 100% sure if he wants to do it. He hasn't let him go yet. So he's going to have to do something either to get him turned to his back, or he's going to have to literally let go.
There we go. They wasted a lot of time there. Just 40 seconds left.
Yeah, 25 seconds ran off the clock from the time Coach Groth said cut him to the point where he actually did. And now the pressure is on.
Off the edge of the mat, very close to a takedown was German, who leads 8-6 here. We've got an exciting finish here to this dual meet at 120 pounds. Bresson, ranked number 8 at this weight class, needs 2 points to tie it up. But in deep is German.
15 seconds to go. And no points awarded yet, but Urbandale is saying, hey, he's got to, and they give it to him to go up 10-6. And that's how it's going to end.
Wow, what a win for the sophomore, Caleb German. And that is only the second win for Urbandale in this duel. So Centennial winning 12 of the 14 matches, and our final score, Ankeny Centennial 66, Urbandale 9. Back to wrap it up after this on CISN.
We might not always know what the day will bring, but some things are certain. The sun will rise and your lights will go on. That's because at MidAmerican Energy, we're obsessively, relentlessly committed to providing you energy when and where you need it, to connecting with you and keeping our communities safe and strong. Because the most important thing we put our energy into is you. We're obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
You want to get stronger, faster, healthier. You want more. You want to be part of something bigger than yourself. A place for people of all ages, all walks of life, that provides opportunities for all to succeed. We do that. We're the why. Build more than muscle. Build a stronger community.
Ankeny Centennial winning 12 of the 14 matches here tonight. 8 by pin, also a technical fall mixed in there. A major decision. They accepted a forfeit, and then a 2-1 exciting win at 145 for Jacob Cuppy. So Urbandale scoring a pair of victories at 138. That was Casey Ross scoring a pin. And then our last match of the night, Caleb German, the sophomore, beating 8th-ranked Jackson Bresson by the score of 10-6.
You really have to be impressed with the sophomore class in general for both teams, but really for Urbandale as well. I remember watching Urbandale at a junior high wrestling meet a couple of years ago, and they had 60 kids out for their 8th grade team, and they were very, very athletic. And you just kind of had to have the feeling if they could continue to have those guys stay out, they were going to be something. And a lot of these guys, you know, you take a look at Carlberg at 113, German at 120, Klusner at 132, Ross at 138, Swick at 152, Elfin at 160. My gosh, it goes on. Else at 182, 195 with team, and then Hearn at 220. Those guys really, even though they only came away with 2 wins, they were in those matches and had a great fight until they got caught in something. And so there's just that lack of experience at the varsity level. But you have to look at it and say, wow, Urbandale really looks to be solid here for the next, to finish this year and the next 2 years to come.
All right. And Ankeny Centennial, very impressive, now improving to 12-3. That's their dual record. Urbandale now 7-4 with this loss to the Jaguars. The final, Ankeny Centennial 66, Urbandale 9. Our next coverage of high school wrestling, a good one, a good one coming up Thursday night, will be at Southeast Polk as the top-ranked Rams play host to another top team in Class 3A, Waukee. We'll have some great matches in that one. Again, that's this Thursday night. We believe that should start right around 7:30. So tune in for that here on CISN. Again, our final here tonight, 66-9. Ankeny Centennial beats Urbandale. For Keith Burness, I'm Pat Curtis. Thank you for watching High School Wrestling on CISN.